everyone. My name is Dr. Ruth Gotian, and welcome to the Mentor Project's Optimizing Success. I am so excited. We have once again our incredible high achievers. We have some regulars, we have some new people. We're going to talk about something that all high achievers have. So the key is all these people that became high achievers, they didn't get there on their own. They had a lot of people that really helped them along the way. And very often they always pass it forward and pass it on and help other people as well. So it's really important to show gratitude to all of the people in our lives who are constantly helping us every day. And these are people who are senior to us, junior to us, and our peers. And it doesn't have to be something big or grandiose. It can be something small. It could be something meaningful. It could be something from the heart. For over 20 years, during the summers, I actually ran a summer program for college students who wanted to be physician scientists. And we put them through the ringer and we trained them. And every week when I did workshops with them, and for anyone who's ever seen me do a workshop, you will know that there are always Post-it notes involved because we're always very engaged and very interactive. And Post-it notes is a great way to keep things anonymous because I couldn't figure out everyone's handwriting. The end of the summer gift that they gave to me was a jar filled with Post-it notes where they each wrote their thank you note about what in particular from the summer had an impact on them, such a big impact. And I still keep that jar in my office. And especially on those days where things just aren't going well, I really open up the jar and open up those Post-it notes. And there's 50 Post-it notes in there. And I'll read 2 or 3 of them and just get rejuvenated and re-energized again. And that was something that really was very, very meaningful. And it's years later, and I still look at it and I still remember those students and I still remember everything. And I am so grateful that they took the time to do that. Now, the other thing that we always hear about and people are talking about quite a bit is something called microaggressions. It's those little things that people say or do that could have a negative impact on somebody else. But there's the opposite of that as well, and that is called a microaffirmation. Those are things that people say and do that have a positive impact. Now, like microaggressions and microaffirmations, people may not even realize that whatever it is that they said or did had such a positive impact on someone else. So whenever I give a workshop, I actually like to close it up with microaffirmations, and I say, does anyone here have something that was said or done during our workshop together? Was there anything that someone said or did that had a profound impact on them? And then those people share it. And very often, the person who did that positive act had absolutely no idea that it was such a profound impact. Sometimes it's someone who shared their vulnerability. Sometimes it's someone who called someone over to sit in an empty chair instead of on the side of the room. It doesn't really matter, but it's a great way to show gratitude as well. So I thought that we would kick off our discussion with gratitude today, since it's so important. And I want to introduce all of our high achievers. And as we do every week, they're going to introduce themselves in 1 or 2 sentences to say who they are, why they're here. And then we're going to kick off our discussion on gratitude. So, book in place, Brad Kane.
Sorry about that. Hello, Bradford Kane. Pleasure to be here as per usual. I am I'm an attorney who was in federal government and state government and all that, and then I wrote this book. And if those folks and yes, it has pages. Pitchfork Populism: 10 Political Forces That Shaped an Election and Continue to Change America, that deciphers what's going on in America today as we run up to the election.
Thanks, Brad. Jana. There you go.
There we go. Okay. Hello, I'm Jana Marie Tillman, and I'm a catalyst for clarity, working with women in leadership and entrepreneurs who are struggling in decision making and not being aligned with their core values, operating from a place that isn't their truth. And so I spend my time consulting with women at that level. And I'm here because I'm so delighted to know Ruth Gotian. I've known her for over 25 years, I think. And this mentor project is right up our alley. Both of us believe in mentorship at the highest level, and that success is not possible without mentors. And gratitude to your mentor is at a very high, almost top 2 of my core values. So I'm right there with you, Ruthie.
Thanks, Jana. Jana, your sound is coming in kind of garbled. I don't know if that's your internet connection, but you're coming in a little bit garbled, so it's a little difficult to hear. But I want to tell everyone that Jana is the queen of gratitude. The queen. She never goes to meet anyone without some little tchotchke that she brings them, that she found somewhere, and it made her think of that person, and she holds on to it till the next time she sees that person. Janice, you're next. Allison, you're on deck.
Hi, I'm Janice Lent. I am the CEO of Hearing Access and Innovations. I work to make the world accessible for people with hearing loss. The project behind
Probably. I live in the country.
Can you not hear me?
I hear you.
Okay. One of the projects I worked on was with Delta Airlines, adding hearing induction loops, which you can see, oops, wrong way, right here. That indicates the presence of an induction loop that allows a person with a hearing loss to hear the sound at that gate directly in their hearing aid or cochlear implant. And I'm also traveling, or was traveling pre-pandemic, to every country in the world, and I've been to 194 countries, territories, and unrecognized nations.
Great, thank you. Allison, Dwayne, you're on deck.
Hi. So I'm on a mission to eradicate the epidemic of anxiety that's impacting parents and professionals and driving burnout. And I've designed a method to address it. So I presented that method in a TEDx talk where I coined the term should storm, which is a term I use to describe the culture of criticism and anxiety that's always shaming us with a sense of what we should be doing or what we shouldn't be doing. I write about the science of human performance for Forbes. I write about the psychology of living in the should storm for Psychology Today. I am a practicing pediatrician full-time in COVID and an adjunct professor at Rush University. And I am hard at work on my first book.
Yay. Dwayne, you're up. Jacqueline, you're on deck.
I'm Dwayne. My last name is Thomas. I am a lawyer, writer, hot dog, and chocolate chip cookie connoisseur. And I'm here because it's fun. And thanks for inviting me.
Thanks, Dwayne. Jacqueline, Pamela, you're on deck.
I'm Jacqueline. I am an artist, activist, and community organizer here in Chicago. And I'm mostly in the education space, and I'm deep into politics and now suddenly political cat scratchers. And I'm very grateful here, so thank you for having us, Ray.
Thanks for joining us. Pamela and Bruce, you're on deck.
I know we all wear multiple hats all the time, being the overachievers that we are. So I am a diversity inclusion consultant at Korn Ferry. I mentor with the State Department's Tech Women program. I facilitate a women in management group at the Stanford Graduate School of Business. And I'm writing my first book about my empowerment journey, and happy to be here.
Thanks for joining us. Bruce and Susie, you're on deck.
So Allison, I love the idea of the should storm. I think I'll have to start using that term.
She took it already, Bruce.
Yes, I'll credit Allison every time I use it. So I'm a professor, I'm a writer slash journalist. I'm a senior contributor to Forbes. I also run a group that does computational modeling in health and public health, and run a company that does that as well. So thanks for having me.
Thank you. Susie and Dr. Susan, you're on deck. And thank you to Susie for joining us from her car. Bonus points.
I hope you can hear me okay.
We can.
I'm a photographer, and I have an educational nonprofit utilizing photography called Photo Wings, and we do quite a bit with gratitude. There's a saying that I really like. It says, I can't teach you anything you can't learn on your own, but what I can do is save you time. So we've interviewed hundreds of hours of the best and most successful photographers and photography professionals talking about how they do what they do to help others save time. And it's right under the umbrella of the Mentorship Project.
Fantastic. Dr. Susan and Liana, you're on deck.
Hello, everyone, and so glad to be here tonight again. And I am Dr. Susan. I am a systems psychotherapist. I work with families, individuals, and I look at all of the different levels in terms of within oneself, within relationships, within society, community, all of the different systems that people work in and from. I'm a very frequent quoter of Allison regarding her should storm ever since I met her a couple of years ago, and I learned about this phrase. I've been just using it everywhere, so I am a constant quoter. Like I say, I'm from Brooklyn, so my Brooklyn will really come out when I say this. As my friend and colleague Allison says, don't shit all over yourself. So so I am from Brooklyn, and I still live in Brooklyn. You can probably hear it. And I also am the very proud producer and host of 2 public access television talk shows. One is Your Voice with Dr. Susan, that looks at all different things. And the other is for the Mentor Project. Yay, Mentor Project. So it's very exciting. We just had our first premiere show on, and it was just really exciting. And you'll all be hearing more about that. I'm also in the process of forming and establishing a community for high achieving women who sometimes struggle with lots of different issues. And so that is happening in a few weeks. So if anybody's interested, please contact me offline. So it's very exciting. Thank you again, Ruth, for doing this.
Thank you. Liana and Chris, you're on deck.
I love this on deck business because it gets us all ready.
I'm trying to be efficient and not use half the time for intros.
I know. It's like, come on, get ready. Don't be sloppy. No messiness. Okay, got it. I know. Hi, everyone. I'm Liana. I am your style sage. I think the only image therapist at Renaissance. I wanted to share something about gratitude with you. So I've had a practice to give gratitude for many, many years. It used to only be by speech, because since I was a little girl, I had this thought, if you think something nice about someone, that thought doesn't belong to me. It belongs to the person that I'm thinking it about. But we are so disgenerous that we're afraid to go up to that person and say, hey, really, I think that was so beautiful what you just did, or I love the way you did that. And so I started the I See You game. Gratitude is a gift you can always afford to give. And it's showed up in Sweden and Denmark and China. And it's really cool. When I go to a hotel, I stick them into the key doors. It's the same size as a key. And there's no money. There's no come and buy something from me. It's just go be a gift onto the world and stop keeping it inside your head. Because that thing that you're thinking, that beautiful thing, belongs to the person you're thinking it about. So
I love that.
I thought I'd bring that to the talk today, because You know, I don't
perfect.
think we do enough acknowledgement. We just don't acknowledge people enough.
We
We
don't.
think
And
that we feel
I
that
love the flowers. So Liana and I had a whole conversation about flowers.
you hadn't seen these. Had you seen these? No.
Those are new.
Yeah, there's a lot more.
Oh, wow. So we cannot talk about gratitude without bringing the gratitude guru to the discussion, someone who actually built an entire business around gratitude. Chris, you're up.
Oh, Ruth, I'm so honored to be with you all, and what an amazing opportunity to learn from so many of you. My name is Chris. I run an organization called 747. We're a research and advisory firm that studies gratitude. We study the science and psychology of gratitude, and we advise the world's largest companies on how to give greater gratitude to their VIP clients, their partners, their teams, themselves. We wrote a book called Gratitude and Pasta, The Secret Sauce for Human Connection. Forbes magazine ranked it as the #2 book of the year to create human connection. USA Today calls us, yes, the gratitude guru. We've used the dinner table and the principles of gratitude to spark over 400,000 relationships around the dinner table in the last 5 years. I'm also a partner at a theater company, producer and a financier of Broadway plays. For the last 6 years, our plays have won 14 Tonys, 7 Emmys, and a Grammy, have built multiple million-person social campaigns, helping to lower the suicide and depression rate among veterans with PTSD. And now we're trying to prove out that gratitude as well can be a tool to lower suicide, depression, and the effects of PTSD. So honored to be here tonight.
Thank you for joining us. And before we dive deep into the conversation, I want to acknowledge up front that black screen you see in front of you, Dr. Debbie Heiser, who is the founder and CEO of the Mentor Project, and our hostess tonight. And the reason that we all have a platform to meet and talk each and every week, not just about optimizing success, but also there's a ton of free content on the Mentor Project website that anyone can go view at any time. So thank you to Dr. Debbie Heiser. So Chris, gratitude. How do we, what do we do? What do we do differently? Start us off.
I think the greatest myth about gratitude has been debunked by so many people here today is that it's free, easy, immediate, and impactful. It's actually one of the easiest things we can do in life. It's just a matter of perspective and actually wanting to do something about it. See, the cool thing is we live in a world where everybody's so focused about, what's coming next, what's coming ahead in the future. And unfortunately, we live in a period of time in our world where the future is the great unknown. Future is filled with great fear, uncertainty, insecurity. And so what is the antidote to feeling so fearful about the future? Well, it's to pause and reflect on where we come from. And the past is a safe and comfortable space. And gratitude gives us that, that tool. So gratitude is about, pulling autobiographical memories from your past and bringing them to the present, and acknowledging that you found value from others. And sometimes you bring forth positive memories, and you talk about them, and you reinforce that positive behavior. Other times you bring up negative memories, and just you talking out loud about those negative memories decreases the negative impact it's had on you. So it's such a great tool. It's not only good for internal well-being, it actually broadens and builds the thought action repertoire needed for curiosity, creativity, self-efficacy, self-confidence. But it's actually just one of the greatest things for developing pro-social relationships with good people. So it's this miracle drug that's survived for millennia, right? Gratitude, you can trace the origins of social reciprocity 2 million years ago through food sharing amongst bonobos and apes and cavemen. And all of a sudden, science and psychology have caught up to the actual tangible evidence-based benefits. And we're going through a great gratitude revolution. When the world is in conflict and all else is failing and you're struggling to find things to communicate to others, give gratitude. It'll always be there.
Wow. So Chris, I just want to follow up. You said that you consult and you help CEOs develop the gratitude culture at their organization and help them learn how to share their gratitude. Why do you think it's so challenging? Why is it so difficult for people to share gratitude?
From what we've heard, there is a unfortunate assumption that if you admit to those around you that you've received help from others, that makes you weak as a person. But we kind of believe the polar opposite. We think that if you can have humility and you can have gratitude for others, that's the greatest show of strength. That people that have humility don't think less of themselves. They just think about themselves less. So
say that again. Say that again.
So people with great humility, I could be totally wrong, but people with great humility don't think less of themselves. They just think about themselves less. And so in a climate like today, you could, I mean, a lot of the work we're doing now is actually helping onboard tens of thousands of new people who have just been hired but have never met each other. So our clients are Google, Microsoft, IBM, Dell, American Express, the largest companies on the planet, are struggling to actually connect the people that they've just hired. And when you don't know what's going to link the two of y'all together or an entire group of thousands of people together, sometimes just diving into the past and uncovering the stories that shaped how you got here today, you'll find the connection needed for forward momentum. And gratitude is a great source for energy, motivation, inspiration. It has the power to heal broken relationships and inspire entire movements into action. And now is actually the time to love on your relationships. When the world is crumbling and people's backs are put up against the corner, now's the time to invest more heavily into relationships. We don't believe in return on investment. We believe in return on relationships. And when you can jumpstart that using gratitude, which is free, easy, immediate, and impactful, you've created and sustained relationships that'll last a lifetime. How you take care of people in times of need will set you up for success when times are good.
I see a lot of head bopping. What are you guys thinking? I see a lot of head bopping.
Yeah, I just love everything that you're saying, Chris, and it makes me think a lot about, I've been obsessed recently with the concept of complexity. And I do a lot of this work when I work with people, individuals and families. I know a lot of people have bad memories, negative experiences, either with the past or with the present in terms of other people's relationships. And sometimes when it's with family members, there's a complexity there. It's like, yeah, I hate my parent for this, but I also love them. And how do we deal with both? And it's always about, can you be angry for parts of it, but also be grateful for other parts? And I think that in this time that we see so much in society, where we've never, I think, been more polarized, it's about that complexity of holding both. So how can I appreciate parts of a person and also kind of put the other parts to the other side? I don't have to reject the entire person, even though I may disagree with their belief system, or I disagree with something that they're saying. No matter what they're doing, how do I understand their story? How do I make sense of it and then appreciate what they're going through, and also feel grateful for the opportunity as well to process our own stuff? So another piece also is that, I always tell people also look within you. So even though I'm always looking at the system, but it's like, okay, what's your reaction? Because your reaction is your reaction. And so go within yourself before you then criticize somebody else. But I don't want to go too far off on that one, but yes.
Wow. Pamela, you look like you're bursting.
Yeah, so am I. I'm so, Chris, first of all, I'm just going to dive right in here, because where have you been all my life? Like, I just want to talk to you. I so want to talk to you. I want to come and sit and have coffee. I'll cook you Persian food so I can pick your brain.
Beautiful.
How's that? Is that cool?
I like that.
Where's my Persian dinner, Liana.
You, all of you. I mentioned it on the last call.
I want to come.
Yes, Jacqueline.
I'm gonna cook fresh Persian food. There's always enough for an army.
I'll even eat virtual food. Why don't you make us a virtual dinner, Liana?
So Chris, I have a couple of things that, first of all, I'm so grateful to meet you. And there's like, literally, I'm not kidding. I've got a lot that I want to talk to you about, because I believe that gratitude melts away the ice that's been happening between people. And I think I always say, I am the masterpiece who masters peace, because peace does not start on the borders of our country, but it starts inside of me. So my mission is to get 1 billion people to be the masterpiece to masters peace. And the way to that is, the way to that is through acknowledgement and gratitude. And I have this practice that I've been doing for about 20 years, where every Shabbat on Fridays, I write 5 notes, handwritten notes, and they go in a vellum envelope, and then they get sent out into the world. Sometimes I don't even know the people. So first I did it with people I know. And then, so I want to, I would love your take on the embodiment of gratitude, like the embodied practice of something. It's not just that we're talking about it because we know that it's the right thing to do. You know, we know it would be a nice thing to buy coffee for the 3 people that are standing behind us in line and they don't look like they can afford it. But the embodiment of gratitude, where's your, like, you're working with all these big groups of people, because it's a huge piece in my work. And I'd love to just get your take on that.
Yeah, I think I'll answer, first of all, a Persian Shabbat dinner sounds like, I don't know if I'm allowed to curse, but fucking awesome.
It is fucking amazing. You know why? Because like,
Persian guys, their kids watching. Their kids watching too.
Sorry.
Because Persian Jews have different food than Persian Muslims. So yes, you're on. I promise. I promise.
So I think to answer that question about the embodiment of gratitude, there's neurological benefits, cardiovascular benefits. Like literally, I'll just connect you to my research team for that. We have a team of PhDs that know this crap more than me.
Yes.
But I'll set it up by explaining what we've done in the virtual. So since COVID, we've pivoted everything virtual, and it's actually been the best thing to ever happen for our company. I mean, the scale is incredible, but technology has been able to, oh my God, so good. But to answer that, when we do our virtual experiences, you think of it like a 3-act play. The first act is about coming into the present. The second act is about diving into the past. And the third act is about looking ahead to the future, using values as a tool for connection. And the first part, you cannot have gratitude without first taking a pause and taking a deep breath and embodying the mentality that you're here in the present and owning up that shit sucks. So at the beginning of our experiences, we literally take a moral barometer. Our gratitude dinners are literally like a micro intervention. It's a positive psychology, gratitude-based micro intervention. That's it. And so at the start, you have to take a barometer on where people stand. If people come into the experiences right now through COVID, feeling lonely, tired, overwhelmed, cautiously optimistic, apprehensive, nervous, hopeful, whatever. And you first have to get them to feel their heart, feel their breath, feel that they don't have to be anywhere else in the world but now. And then that allows you to shift the mindset needed for gratitude, to be other focused, to acknowledge value from others. So we do some breathing exercises. We do some light meditation. We don't force meditation down people's throats, but to actually communicate the embodiment of gratitude, when you are in a small group setting and you're either listening, we call it observational gratitude, when you're listening to others give gratitude or you're giving gratitude yourself, your literal cardiovascular activity is literally slowing down. I can't explain the science of it. Madeline on my team will back that up, not me.
Yeah,
when you,
yeah, Allison, Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about it, and he's been measuring people's brain activity, like literally data.
it's a literal, like a physical shift in your stress levels, in your depression levels. It's literally it's instant.
So could our two physicians on the team, Dr. Allison Escalante and Dr. Bruce Lee, weigh in on this and explain it to us a little bit?
Well, this is actually one of my passion areas, so I'm going to have to talk here. But first, I have to
claim your space, girl.
Yeah, this is my thing. But I have to stop because I just had to tell Bruce and Susan how much your praise of my idea meant for me. And I think so highly of you. So that affirmation filled me with gratitude right at the beginning of this meeting. So thank you. But basically what Chris is getting at, and this is an area that we're really looking at in mental health and neuroscience and child development in occupational therapy, like it's one of those from chemistry, like a rate limiting step that's at the core of so many things. And it really comes down to this: 3 main branches of our autonomic nervous system. And what Chris is talking about is shifting into the social nervous system, which is largely residing in the ventral vagus nerve. Most of the time we are in some degree of social activation, but also anxiety in the form of the fight or flight system or the sympathetic nerve. And then when we're really depressed, we tend to be having activation of the dorsal vagus nerve. And so to put this in very simple terms, to get it out of the science realm, you're either in your social nervous system, you're in fight or flight, or you're in freeze. That's when you play dead, when you're an animal and you're in the fox's mouth and you're a rabbit. And that's a numbing thing that takes us out of our body, that makes it easier to die. And so that's the part of the nervous system that we think is very active in depression, in PTSD. And it's why anything that pulls you into the social nervous system is so important. So yeah. And then I could talk for hours on this, and I frequently do. So I'll leave it there right now.
Thank you.
But by the way, quick things. So sorry. Shifting into the social nervous system, it starts with the breath. And it also can really help to like have a hug. Eye contact is a big one, like seeing and feeling that you've been seen. And then the voice. If you're in the presence of someone with a prosodic voice, a voice that has a musicality to it, that is coming from a deeper space in their breathing, it tends to activate your social nervous system. So prosodic means like up and down, not like tense and scary and stern. Okay, I'm done for now.
Wow, we got a whole science lesson.
It's actually interesting. There's a great scientist named Franz de Waal who's the world's foremost primatologist. So he literally studies like how like ape, chimpanzee, bonobo behavior resides in modern technology. And actually he traces back that a part of that could be whatever you did as a kid, do it as an adult in a small group format, and you'll literally go back there. So like when we used to produce in-person dinners pre-COVID, we would actually engage the entire group in shared activities, empowering everybody to work together to create the meal. So the act of like returning back to almost building a fort as a kid and serving each other and putting your hands in the pasta sauce and folding napkins together, those things literally like seep the ego out of you and get you in that, whatever the fancy shit Allison just talked about, mood for gratitude. So that was awesome.
I just want to give everyone a heads up. Chris is based in South Carolina, which is where a lot of us get together every year. I'm just saying.
New York City.
Oh, you're in New York City now. I thought you were in
Close.
South Carolina.
No. Oh, actually, I randomly happen to be in Hilton Head this exact only one night of right now. This is so funny. I just flew in for my dad's 75th birthday, and I just randomly happen to be in South Carolina right now.
We were just talking, last time we spoke, you were in South Carolina.
That's so funny. Oh, yeah, our Renaissance. Oh, yeah, all y'all do Renaissance?
We're all
Yeah.
Renaissance people.
So our family was involved in the creation of Renaissance decades ago when it was on Hilton Head. Yeah.
Now, I want to ask Bruce, do you have anything to add to the medical side of this?
Well, it's hard to add after Allison gave such a great explanation and description. I guess I can add a few things, also from the macro level. We tend to forget that we are social beings, that we are part of, an organization of different people, and that we actually depend heavily on each other. So, a lot of science has shown that, when people feel more isolated or separate, or you have a group of people and they feel more separate, then things start to break down. You can't accomplish as much, but also, people's health tends to suffer. So I think one of the issues is that when, there can be this motivation, this zero-sum game, this idea of a zero-sum game that, oh, well, if I give you gratitude, then I'm like releasing something to you when I want to keep it all by myself. And that especially happens in big organizations many times because people feel like they're fighting each other but that's harmful, because I think that the people who tend to think of it differently, like there are synergies and we can expand the pie together, are probably more likely to be more free-flowing with gratitude, because, why not help each other? And the literature is pretty deep in terms of the effect of social environment and presence of social connections, and that relationship to achievement, to physical health, to mental health, and emotional health. And we just tend to forget about all those things.
It's interesting, Bruce. You mentioned in a social setting, sometimes gratitude might be used as a tool to get something that you need. So gratitude could actually be misconstrued very easily. And that would be when you engage in a relationship that's like a tit for tat, like a matching style relationship. Mm-hmm. But we advocate that people use gratitude as a form of reciprocal altruism. Is that gratitude is the link between giving and receiving. Gratitude is the link between paying it forward and paying it back. If you can use gratitude from an altruistic principle just to give and not expect anything back, you will get a crap ton back. But so many people use gratitude the wrong way. And here's a classic example. You want to thank a client, like we're in the boring B2B space, so I might like quote some really boring stuff. But let's say you want to give a gift to a big client. Don't just slap your logo on to give them a gift. That's not gratitude at all. That's promotional branding. What I think Susan was talking about is empathy. It's not the thought that counts. It's the thoughtfulness of the thought that counts. And so when you give a gift based on how they want to receive something that has nothing to do with you, that's empathy, and that's gratitude, and that's altruism. So put their logo on it, put something that means something to them, not something that means something to you.
Jana, this reminds me, we had these annual conferences, and once I walked by Jana's room as we were prepping for whatever session we were supposed to go to, and I'm hearing these voices coming out of her room, and I'm like, what in the world is this? Well, it turned out she got, in our little group, she got everyone a gift, and she put it in a bag, and when you open the bag, it said an inspirational message. Do you remember what it was, Jana? It was like, you're awesome. You're on fire. You're great. You go, girl. I just want to ask Brad about nothing. You worked quite a bit on Capitol Hill, and nothing in Capitol Hill can be done alone. I was wondering if you could tell us what gratitude looks like on Capitol Hill.
Ha! There's room for more. So something that Chris said earlier brings to mind, it resonated with me because of, in the sense of, yes, we aspire to, for those of us here on the screen, but also, viewers who are listening, who understand these messages and want to practice it and realize that we have a better life with these principles in place and practicing them. That doesn't mean that the outside world necessarily gravitates toward that. It is not necessarily received in the same spirit in which it is offered. And so, one of those issues, like in a competitive environment where people look for advantage in all sorts of ways, and of course, Chris was referring to it's a sign of weakness or a sign of strength or whatever, that is, we understand that on a personal level, and we make a choice and we'll live either longer or at least happier for it. But the question is, one has to know their audience in terms of when is it appropriate and not appropriate. So when you talk about in not just government, but probably applies in very much so in business and a lot of other arenas also. In some things, like if you were in the art world, maybe, everyone can win. But when you're talking about, if it's if you're talking about your poker buddies, someone's winning, someone's losing. But especially in government, of course, where you have certain bills and there's political capital, and the question is, are you going to get a hearing on your bill? Are you going to get someone's vote for an amendment? What do they think of you for this, and how does it translate to that? It is a little troubling, and so while one would want to practice, if one so chooses to practice gratitude, as many of us do, it still seems as though you have to know your audience, and because it can come at a price. Now, at the same time, one can realize with all the self-confidence that, well, I am going to still feel the gratitude that I feel, or maybe I'm even going to express it, and to heck with the consequences. But one has to be aware, nonetheless, of what the implications might be.
Absolutely. Now, Pamela, I want to get to your questions, but I keep thinking of Susie and her photos, and I keep wondering, what would gratitude look like in one of Susie's photos? I keep asking, I'm dying to know what that would look like. You'll have to show us next week. Look through your collection and show us.
It's probably my flying horse picture that is my email. It looks like it's flying, and it's like a magical horse that flies in the air and believes anything is possible. One of the things that I wanted to bring up was photographers. We deal with many of the conflict photographers, and they believe in giving back in amazing ways, and sometimes it can save someone's life. So we've asked on our website, there's hashtag THX2. Was there somebody, someplace that you would like to thank for making a difference in your life? And in some cases, a photographer gave a camera to a photographer, or they literally saved their life, or they gave them an airplane ticket that got their career started. There's a photographer that's covered 3 genocides, and he started out that way. So we have a lot of those stories on our site, and it's one of my favorite things that we do.
I love it. Pamela, we have 5 minutes, but you were asking some great questions in the chat, and I'm hoping that you can ask them, and Chris and others can maybe chime in.
Yeah, thank you. This is fascinating. Thank you. This is fascinating. Just when American society is so broken right now and so polarized and really like hating each other, and communities are dying and being murdered disproportionately, like I know gratitude could be a solution in there, but when there's so much suffering and hatred, like how do you even start that, right?
So our entire research revolves around one question. If you could give credit or thanks to one person in your life that you don't give enough credit or thanks to, who would that be? Who have you never thought to thank? And the crazy thing about that question is, everybody we've ever asked that to has had an answer. And what happens when you ask that question in small group formats, you find similarities. You find serendipity. Maybe someone will give credit and thanks to their mother that they never met. Someone will give credit and thanks to a teacher. Someone will give credit and thanks to a dog, God, themselves, person they hate, person that wronged them, person that loved them, whatever. And so when you bring down society back to those basics, you all find a point of connection. And so when we ask those questions, regardless of who's at our experiences or who we're asking this to, you get to hear amazing stories. And after they share those stories, we have people write down 5 to 7 values that the person they just gave credit and thanks to stands for, right? What we learned from Dr. Susan earlier about values and about connection and empathy. So when you write down 5 to 7 values that someone stands for, and then you get a bunch of people just to put all of those values into a group chat, then you get to ask the community, raise your hand if you saw someone else write down at least one value that you also believe in. And every hand goes up. So the flavor or the details of the stories are different, but the human condition is the exact same. And by collecting literally hundreds of thousands of unique data points over the years, we found that the most common values people talked about here are love, loyalty, honesty, empathy, integrity, hard work, perseverance, family. So it doesn't matter where you come from, you can still believe in the same things. That's how Dr. Martin Luther King got hundreds of thousands of people to show up to hear him speak 60 years ago. Not because he talked about the what or the how. He didn't give the I have a plan speech. He gave the I have a dream speech. And so people showed up because they believed in the same thing he believed in.
Hey,
And
Chris, did you see
gratitude
that?
is linked to get there.
Chris, did you see there's, it's on YouTube, and I know it's done in many schools, where you call someone from your past to say thank you.
Totally.
And people have called their first grade teachers, they called their grandmothers, they called their parents, and they do this very often in front of other people. And I've seen a Marine do this. He gave a talk at a school, and then he called his mother to thank her for being so supportive. And you could see everybody's crying, and it was just so emotional and so beautiful. And I just want to, Jan is having internet issues, but I just want to read what she typed in because I think it's so poignant here. So Jana is known for expressing gratitude to other people, and she does it with words and she does it with gifts. And what she mentioned was that when she sees the surprise on people's face, when she actually showed gratitude, that is her motivation to keep on doing it because it brings her so much joy in doing that. And she also said that she still handwrites notes as opposed to, I guess, just an email or a text to share her thanks and share her gratitude, which I think it's a lost art, and people talk about those handwritten notes quite a bit. Does anyone else do that? Brad?
I do it every Friday. I do. And you know what? I seal my letters with sealing wax and a velvet ribbon.
Oh my, you're
and
fancy.
Here's what I've recognized is that, and I use my Mont Blanc pen, you know, with ink, purple ink. And here's what I've noticed is that, you know, when somebody gets a letter in the mail, actually, like they have it and it's paper, the tactility, the neurolinguistic programming that happens. And usually I perfume the paper because paper holds perfume really well. I perfume the paper. So when they open it, they get a sensory, tactile, visual, audio. And then what happens is that they go we all do this. We all go back and say, oh my God, a week ago, somebody sat down and thought of me and wrote a letter and used words that, or poetry, or, I put glitter in it. I put dried flower petals in it. And it's like, it's a little gift. And we don't give those gifts anymore. We don't.
I think we're all wondering when we're going to get these Liana letters.
You will. If I get your snail mail address and it's in my computer, you at some point will get one of these.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And the thing is that it's like people have called me and they've cried and it's not such a big deal. It's like if we take 15 minutes and then I seal them with sealing wax from France and red with an old seal. And sometimes I make videos and then I tell them about, what happened and what I was thinking. And it's like, we don't do that enough. Look, all we want in the world is we want to be gotten. One of the ways that you get them is to express gratitude and make it really clear what you're grateful for. Just, when you did this, this is what it did for me, and this is what it did for the world. And that's why I'm so grateful to you. And that's like, there's a practice, and it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. It's like,
Jacqueline, I know you're dying to say something.
I guess all of this stuff we've been talking about has to do with how you're expressing gratitude towards others. And that, sort of depends on this other that you're actually going to reach out and speak to. And so, since we only have a few minutes left, I just want to invite people to realize that you do actually have to get on a phone or sealing wax letters to other humans to do this kind of practice. My daughter and I have this thing, whenever you're feeling crummy, to go off on a gratitude walk. And on a gratitude walk, it means for 20 minutes, you're walking. And as you're walking, you have to constantly be speaking out loud to yourself and just saying what you're grateful for. Like, I am grateful that I'm breathing. I am grateful that there is grass. I am grateful that my feet are not muddy. I am grateful that I have not been hit by a car yet. And, whatever it is, some days you're feeling really exuberant. Other days you're just like, I'm actually grateful that my life doesn't suck more than it does, or whatever it is. And just, that practice of just being kind, starting to be grateful just for yourself and your own place on the planet, and having the gifts that you have and the blessings that we have right now, is something that everybody can do all the time without sealing wax. And sealing wax and perfume better. Like, if you're Liana, like, you get gold stars like all around for that, but like little gratitudes.
Or you can use gratitude to torture your children. And so what I love to do, because people make me happy all the time. So we were eating sandwiches at a socially distanced outdoor dining, and this young woman walked by and she had a fantastic outfit on, and it just really made me happy. So I explained to her that her outfit was really great and her hair looked fantastic, and I hope she was having a good day. At which point my children hid under the table and expressed how painful it is to have me as their mother.
Allison in New York, that wouldn't fly.
So do you want to
No,
hear
but
I'm sorry.
And I am from New Jersey. So this is a practice I've been able to take up in the Midwest, where you can aggressively assault people with compliments and they will not hit you.
I do something even wackier, Allison. This is my own dirty, like, strange secret, weird.
It's not going to be a secret if you tell it here.
True.
We're recorded.
Okay. So I love going to thrift stores. It's my favorite thing. Everything in my life comes from a thrift store. So one of the things I totally love to do on the weekend is I'll start in a thrift store and I'll start assembling these vignettes that I think are like, this is like the best kids' room I've ever seen, and I'll gather all the things that go into the stage set of like the most perfect girls' room I've ever seen in my life, or the most, perfect fly fishing moment, whatever it is. It's kind of bananas. Anyhow, and then at some point I will see some kid of that appropriate age in the thrift store, like some adorable 6-year-old who should have this princess bedroom. And, you know, I just, you know, slip somebody $30 and say, when this kid comes through, just make sure that she gets everything that's in this bag. And then I leave.
Wow.
And, you know, it's like my own wacky.
That's your own letter in an envelope.
Also, there's this.
Someone was going to say something, and then we have to close up. Susan.
Okay. Yeah, I was. Also, it isn't just when people say it isn't what happens to you, it's what you say to yourself about what happens to you, because every experience, good or bad, can be something that you can learn from, and you can look back on that and saying, I'm so happy that happened because I learned X, Y, Z. So you have to be open to that opportunity.
Absolutely. I think we just touched on this, and I think we need to continue this discussion next week. And I'd really love to know, who was it that had such an impactful impact on each and every one of your lives, to the point that they helped you get to where you are now. And I would love to hear about that. And I would love to know if you ever told them so. And Chris, if you are available at the same time next week, we would love to have you back to continue this discussion. So with that, if we're going to go, if people want to learn more about everyone, this is how we close the show each and every week. I do know that Dr. Allison Escalante had to log off, and Dwayne Thomas had to log off. You can find them on all the social media. Brad, kick us off. If people want to learn more about you, where can they go?
Pitchforkpopulism.com.
Thank you. Janice, we didn't hear much from you today, but where can people hear about you and all you do?
Hearingaccess.com and janicelentz.com.
Beautiful. Pamela.
PamelaO'Leary.com.
Love it. Chris.
Gratitudeandpasta.com.
Love it. Jacqueline.
For activism stuff, it's jvedelberg.com, but for Scratch Out Hate, it's scratchouthate.com.
Bruce.
BruceYLee.com or BruceyLee.com. And you can also Google Bruce Y. Lee and Forbes to see my writing.
Which is hysterical, by the way, and very accurate. Susie.
My photography website is SusanKatzPhotography.com, but I spend most of my time on my nonprofit Photo Wings, PHOTOWINGS.org, and I made several videos there.
Beautiful, and thank you for joining us from your car today. Appreciate that. Dr. Susan.
You can reach me at Dr. Susan Bernstone without the hyphen at gmail.com, or you can just Google my name and you'll see lots of different stuff, or go to the Mentor Project and you can also reach me there. Thank you.
Thank you. Liana.
Sorry, I just put it in the chat. You can reach me at liana@imagetherapist.com. Do not go to my website because it is under construction. Go to betheoffer.com. I'm like everywhere. Liana Shauli is not a name like Jim Jones or something. So if you spell it right, you'll go. Lots and lots of video, very funny, lots of funny stuff. I want to make you laugh because laughter cements learning. So let me know if you've laughed.
Thank you. I am Dr. Ruth Gotian, and you can find me on my website, ruthgotian.com, RuthGotian, and on all the social media platforms, it's just my name. Jana, it didn't come in yet. Debbie Heiser, how can people find you?
mentorproject.org or deborahheiser.com. Thanks for another great night, Ruth.
Thank you. Everyone, thank you very, very much for joining us. I hope you can all join us next week 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Optimizing Your Success. Chris, again, we would love for you to join us because I think we need to continue this discussion on gratitude and how we can do it better. And we're going to name the people who made a difference in our life. Thanks, everybody.